How did your husband feel when you first started in the career world about you being dedicated to your career as well as your family, etc.?
We started off together, and he was a builder, and I started off with a real estate company and sold it and became a part of what is now NRT. And then once they started putting me in some very good positions, as you remember, I was on the road a lot. I was traveling a lot. And did it create challenges? Absolutely. However, Rodney was so supportive. He realized, and he knew that we had built our careers together, and so he was very supportive. He's still with me.
That's great. That's great.
But it does present its challenges.
So he was an enlightened man. I won't say way back then, but in those days.
Well, yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He was, and he was a builder, and I was the realtor, and that's how we started together. And so.
And you and Dave have had sort of the same thing.
We have. The word enlightened man is going to be on his napkin tonight, because that is a perfect way to describe men that can support the women in their lives. He has been my biggest advocate, my biggest cheerleader alongside my parents to say there's nothing that we can't do together. Does it have its fair share of challenges? Absolutely. Raising 4 kids and being around the country to serve on the different boards that I do in the shoe industry, it's a lot. But it always comes back to that we're doing it together, and if we're going to succeed together or fail together, and the chance of us failing together is pretty small because we're both fighters. But without him, I say it all the time, this wouldn't be half the fun that I have. I would not want to do it alone.
No.
I have the best partner in that, and I'm very blessed.
So, Molly, you mentioned your kids. I know you guys, I know for sure have kids, and I'm sure some of you other do as well. How have you handled that process, the decision-making process between work, career, and family? And if you can go back and do something different, would you?
Grow in our organization specifically, so I don't know that that's a man-woman thing. It was just business and timing. We went from a one-vendor relationship for about 13 years to opening 2 stores within a 12-month period, and going from 1 vendor to 300 and having a baby. And oh, by the way, it was the recession. So that took a lot of time away from maybe raising the other kids. Thankfully, they're all fine, and we don't have any issues. But I think, now looking back 4 years ago, it's a very big blur in my life, and I might have changed that a little bit more. But it was what it was, and maybe put more people around us at that point helping us. But that's not a male-female thing. That's just maybe timing. But wouldn't change the world now to have all 4 of them.
Did you ever struggle with the should I be more of a mommy and less of a business owner?
That's a daily struggle for me still.
There's an expression, show me a mother without guilt and I'll show you a man. Because women have guilt and mothers at work have the worst guilt. And I think the book, the Lean In book, was really the first book I read that I was like, maybe I shouldn't feel so guilty. She really removed a lot of this sort of the visceral sort of feelings I had about being guilty. And I was thinking about it this morning. When my kids were little, I took a few years off. I have two boys, but they were born a year apart. And when they were born, I took about 2 or 3 years off from work, and I think I even felt guilt then. Like I wasn't good enough. I didn't go to enough Gymboree classes. I didn't feed them better organic food. So even though I'm a stay-at-home mom, right. Women, mothers, we are the primary caregiver. That's just the unfortunate or fortunate part of life. Is the mother, the woman who's tucking him in at night, who's putting on the calendar the parent-teacher conference, who's making sure that they have the granola bars, and it's generally the mom. And for better or for worse, we take on that role too. So not only are we leading people at work, but we have to hold the social calendars for our spouses if we have one. We have to hold, make sure the play dates are correct. There's so many more just the details that women have to handle that men, generally speaking, don't take on.
So is there something you want men at work to get about that? to understand about that?
Men at work to get
To to recognize
empathize.
that you've always got this tug and pull and this you're it.
Yeah, I think they know that, and we do give a little bit more leeway to women at work, and under certain circumstances that will prevent them from having to take their kids to appointments or whatever. We try to be sensitive to it, but I think the men know it. They have wives, they have families, they kind of get it. But I think bringing it up at work, it doesn't help the cause. Work is work, and we try to, as women, we try to segment everything, right? So we come to work, we're not really talking about, hey, you feel bad for me because I was up at 3 in the morning because my 10-year-old crawled in bed with me and wouldn't leave me alone. Yeah, we're not talking about that. We're talking about spreadsheets and goals and.
But you know what? I think there's an element of it that the man feels too. I really do, because you think about it. I mean, my husband, our kids are grown. We've got 9 grandchildren. So, my husband is like, boy, I should have taken time, more time with the boys, and the boys is what, I should have taken them fishing, taught them to hunt, or whatever it is. And so there's that element too, from a man's point of view.
And it's interesting because maybe it happens later. Maybe
It
men
does come
have more
later.
regret.
They're
and
so
more
busy.
guilt
Yep.
later in life,
Yeah.
and they sort of feel like, I missed those opportunities.
They did.
Women
And-
just have it every day.
Exactly.
Maybe
The minute the baby comes out.
Yeah, maybe as we get older, we lose it. That could be an upside.
I have 3 children, 8, 5, and 9 months,
Wow.
and they all have 4 legs and fur.
Write it down.
But they're all girls, and I do dress them, so it does take some time. No, but I think on the flip side of that, what I'd like to say is, you talked about the supportive husband. I really wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my husband. When I got the call that they were looking for someone in Florida, we lived in Cincinnati, and he said, I said, should I investigate this? He said, absolutely, why are you talking to me? He was very, very supportive. He had to take 8 levels demotion at FedEx to actually get a transfer down here about 9 months after I arrived in Florida. He has been like that his whole life. And people meet him at these different events and they say, are you in banking too? And he says, no, I leave all that to her. Or he introduces himself as Mr. Colleen, which is kind of cute. But he really, everything is done. Now that he retired a few years ago, he does retirement really, really well. But I don't have to touch anything. He does everything in the house. He's there. He gets to play in Utah, go skiing or whatever, which is great. But he has been the rock of this family, I can tell you that.
Women in leadership roles need, if they have children, they really need, more than they need an equally powerful spouse, they need somebody that can balance that role and take on a lot more of the issues at home and family, and that's so important. Because I think professional women always like to think they're going to find, an equally professional, fantastic billionaire and that's, of their intellect. And, and the truth of the matter is that, and I have these conversations with my single girlfriends all the time, but the truth of the matter is those men are looking for like 25-year-olds that will travel the world with them on a whim. They're not looking for equally professional women who want careers. And so there's this reality to life, which is professional women need to find good partners.
I'll give you a little bit different perspective. I have one daughter, and I've been the sole care provider for her since she was 4. And so balancing my professional ascent and a career that I value tremendously while raising somebody that I want to be as independent and full and happy as any other child, it takes decisions every single day. But I think most women who are in that type of situation, or any others, approach their life the way they approach their business, and you have to plan. There's a saying, if you don't know where you're going, any map will get you there. So you first have to know, what is it that I want to achieve for my family, for my child, for my aging parents, for my career, for the 250 employees who depend on me to make a plan for them. Set that, and then, you work it backwards like an algebra problem. What do I need to do today? And then recognize that every day you will be thrown a curveball. Every day, professionally or personally or from a health perspective, and hopefully you've planned enough to allow for those interruptions that are sometimes minor and sometimes very, very severe. But I think it's important that every woman and every businessman also recognize that everybody's got a different path. And we have to create the opportunities for people to be successful, whatever is important for them along that path. And I think if I look back, and if there's anything I regret, it is recognizing that 20 years ago or 14 years ago when my daughter was born, and appreciate every single moment along that path. And there were plenty of times, I didn't sleep the entire night for fretting over something relative to her well-being or the employees that were depending on me or my shareholders who said, here's what I need by when. And, you have to do that. That's part of the ascension. But it's been a really good run. And I think about, why didn't I really recognize that every one of those moments, even the challenging ones, were something I was learning from and certainly had nuggets of enjoyment out of that. That's what I try to pass on to Laura is, I know finals seem really stressful, honey, but it's nothing compared to what you're going to face. No, I'm just kidding.